this is the video to teach one-point perspective. Some of you have had experience with one-point perspective, but you still want to go back to the basics whenever you are considering using a technique or a trick in a piece of art. Even I, the art teacher, practice one-point perspective before I use it in a piece of artwork to help make sure that my brain is kind of back in the groove of it. So first off, we have these posters. There's a how-to step-by-step set of directions on the left for those of you that just need a quick reminder. And then there are application reminders where you can do everything from the basics with the boxes to the name, which many of you have done before, to actually turning your whole paper into a three-dimensional perceived space using this technique. After you've experienced that, if you're wanting to do something where it's a little bit more project-based or combining your ability to do perspective with shading, here's another little trick where you can take those one-point perspective boxes with that singular vanishing point, and then you can apply shading to it. Small note, there's one mistake. This should come down like this and then connect over, so that connects to the vanishing point, but I didn't do that, and it's already laminated, so please forgive me. Okay, then some fun things to do with that is sometimes students struggle. They feel like they need to do complicated things in art, but imagine this only really, really big. I mean, if this was a 3-foot by 3-foot square and this was drawn on a sidewalk, this would be extremely entertaining to an audience, or even put large onto a wall. So just remember that sometimes if the technique seems simple, the scale can make it incredible. Okay, now we're going to transition to me actually demoing for you. Let's see if I can get this to tilt down. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and grab my piece of paper and let's just talk about some basics. The first thing would be is your horizon line can go anywhere on your paper. I'm going to go ahead and put it at the top for the purpose of this demo. And then it's important to realize that this line is made up of millions of options for vanishing points. So I can have a vanishing point here, right? But let's say this is a road. Well, if that road has a series of poles or something on it, those poles would all disappear back to that vanishing point. But what if it wasn't just one road? What if there was a series of roads? What if there was another road option available here? This is not doesn't have to be thought of as 2-point perspective. This, I would argue, is still mentally thinking 1-point perspective, right? If my road is there, or sometimes I have 2 boxes coming from different locations, but essentially, if I had a stack of poles, they wouldn't go to this vanishing point, they vanish to here. So realize that you can combine 1-point perspective drawings onto one sheet of paper, and you just have multiple 1-point perspective views. All right, well, how to do the basic box. Go ahead and place your horizon line down, and on there pick a point for your vanishing point. And then for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to trace a square because it's going to go faster, but you would use your ruler. I particularly like rulers that don't have markings on them because then you can draw in your own marking, and it kind of takes measuring away from the need to also learn how to do perspective. We'll combine skills once we're confident. So, and I apologize when my hand's in the way, and I'm also going to apologize, I'm doing this sideways, so my drawing skills might leave a little bit to be desired here. Okay, once I have it traced, every corner actually disappears back to that vanishing point. And the trick would be, if I use concepts from 0-point perspective, is that the line weight and line thickness is darkest here and then lets up as I get closer to the vanishing point. So I push down and let up, down and let up. And then technically this line also exists, but you can't see it if your box is like a solid force. So I'll draw it as a dash. Then it's very important that this next line stay parallel to this one. So I like to use the trick of putting my pencil on that line to make sure I'm not twisting my ruler. And then I want this space to feel like the top of that box. So using my ruler to confirm that I'm straight, I draw across. Then it's easier going this way. I know it has to start at that same point, but it's again really easy for me to tilt that ruler. So using my pencil as a straight edge, it can help me make sure that I have them parallel before I draw it down. Now this is the full box, but what if it happened to be see-through? Just for fun, you can finish your box off. So again, really working hard to make sure that I have parallel lines. This would come down as a dashed line, and then it would go over. Now the reason for drawing these is that it's a great way to see your accuracy. So let me show you what's happened here. That's what I get for drawing sideways. Do you see how my lines don't line up? Well, there are 3 things that could cause this. Number 1, these lines weren't parallel. Number 2, these lines weren't parallel, and then that transitioned into more unparalleled lines. And number 3, and here's the most important, and I'll give you a hint, I did this on purpose. Look at my lines. Do you see how they don't perfectly line up? Ever so slightly, you can barely see it. Some of them crisscross each other. Because I didn't go back to the exact same point, I wasn't creating a perfect drawing. So it's very, very important that you don't make this dot extremely big. You want it as small as possible. And the more consistent you are going back to that dot, the more accurate you'll become. I'm excited to see fully accurate drawings from you. If you really struggle with this, I have all of these wonderful practice sheets, some that show you step by step what to do, some that allow you to take a drawing where I know everything's all lined up for you and so it should work, to points where the square is already drawn. So if you're taking forever because the pencil or the ruler is getting in your way, please come and ask for the 1-point perspective practice sheets, and we'll switch you over to something that allows for easy erasing. Don't forget to take these skills and create new sketches of your art learning or your art ideas so that they are improved based off of your learning.